Hi, welcome to another episode of Own It for Good, where we talk about all things personal responsibility. And I am your host, Felicia Holmes. I am a coach, a personal responsibility advocate, activist, and coach, and work in progress. There's still a lot of stuff in my life that I am trying to own. And today we're breaking it down a little bit further. If you haven't listened to my previous episodes, you might want to back up a minute or at least, make a mental note to go back and listen to those. Unpacking the own it, of course, we all know what that means, but I have turned it into an acronym that is sort of the foundation of my philosophy and coaching practice in my approach, personally and professionally. And so far we've covered O, which stands for outcome, W, which stands for why. Now that you know what you want, what your outcome is, why do you want it? And N is for now what? Now what are you going to do about it? What are you willing to do about it? And it's a process, it's a journey. Like I said, I'm still very much a work in progress, progress over perfection, all the P's. I'm right in there with you. And that's actually what has drawn me to the coaching business, because while I get to help other people own it, I get to help myself. It's the best career ever. Best career ever. Hashtag. Okay, I don't even know what a hashtag is. I don't know why I said that. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going on to the next word, which is the I in the word it. Own it. And it can be, whatever your it thing is, or you might have 5 its. You got to work on one it at a time. One at a time. I know a lot of us, especially in America, in our Western culture, we're the, suck it up, buttercup, get her done, self-reliant people, and we want to just do it all at once. And then we crash and burn, and then we wonder why we keep staying stuck. So that right there, as a little side note, is also my approach. I'm a long game person. If you want a quick fix and to lose 100 pounds in 30 days and be totally transformed in 30 days, I'm not your girl. Now, you can look a lot different and feel a lot different in 30 days, but we gotta be realistic. And we gotta, because we want to make this part of just who we are, so that we put ourselves on a new autopilot. The people that need to own it usually are people that are stuck in we've got some bad programming going on. Some malware has been installed. Our GPS is off a little, and we've gotten over here and we've got a little stuck, and we've, found ourselves a little bit, submerged in the overwhelming aspects of life. And we've turned to maybe some unhealthy coping strategies. Maybe we're spending too much. Or spending too much time on social media, maybe over drinking, maybe overeating, maybe, going on to all kinds of interesting sites on the internet that you can just find yourself overdoing. Or how some people even overdo exercise and get so focused on even self-development, can be a self-development addict. I think I'm a recovering one of those as well. So anyway, we're going to talk about the I today. And that is integrity. Integrity. Yes, we want that. We all want it. And there's a cute saying out there. I know it's very popular one right now, but a lot of these memes have a nugget of truth in them. And there is a saying, how you do anything, or I've also seen it said as how you do one thing is how you do everything. So we're going to talk a little bit about character. So hopefully those of you that are watching on YouTube, if you see a little glare on my glasses, that's okay. I'm sitting in front of my office window. So anyway, I guess I distracted myself with that glare. Sorry. And okay, integrity. I'm going to just start by reading the definition. I think that's always a good place to start with big words like this, because integrity, you know, we think we know what it means, and sometimes we think we have it, and then maybe we look around and realize maybe we don't, sort of like I did. I had integrity in some areas, but not all areas. So is that really integrity? Let's explore. So the root word of integrity is integer, which means a whole number. So I'm looking at my notes a little bit as well. So if you hear me pause or see me pause a little bit, that's what's happening here. I want to make sure I get this correct. So integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principle and uprightness. Also, the state of being whole and undivided. An unimpaired condition, soundness of sound mind, maybe? Firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values. Other meanings are reliable, a moral compass that doesn't waver. Synonyms are words like honest. A very similar word with the same root word is integrated. And that is when we take different parts and make them whole. So if you're listening to me, the word integrity, you could also swap it out and use integrated, that you want to live from an integrated place, bringing all the parts of you into the whole person. And to be integrated is to be organized or structured so that constituent units function cooperatively. So we want to be authentic. We want to be the same person that we are behind closed doors out in the real world, and vice versa. And a lot of us are putting masks on or walking around like chameleons. Well, if I'm me at the stage of life I'm in, I am a teenage mom. I'm in my late 40s currently. And, this could be maybe I'm showing up at church and at school at the PTA type stuff as one person, but then behind closed doors, or when I go over maybe with another group of people, I'm acting like a totally different person. That's not really living with integrity. Those are just kind of some simple examples. So personally, this is one of those, those come to Jesus talks you got to have with yourself in the mirror. It can get a little uncomfortable, honestly. We don't like to admit that we don't have integrity. Like, we want to be able to say all of these things, and we want people that even when they think of our names and think of us, I think most of us want to be people of integrity and good character. And that is hard to, but it takes a little bit of work and effort and honesty. And a lot of times we're just tired. We're tired. There's a lot of responsibilities on a human being these days. If you're a mom or a parent, I shouldn't just be talking to only moms, but any parents out there know what I'm talking about. We've got to, any adult really, like, come on. Once you hit adulthood, I think it's probably fairly easy to have integrity as a young person, because you don't have other responsibilities outside of yourself. So you look at kids and they are pretty authentic. They're telling the truth everywhere they go. They are having fun, or if they're upset about something, they're going to tell you about it. Now, they may not have exactly what's defined here as having maybe a strong moral principle and uprightness. They've got to be taught and learn that. But usually they're pretty honest, and honest is one of those things. So, what happened to us along the way, and how do we find ourselves one day, um, you know, like me? I found myself slowly gaining weight, um, being more sedentary, overwhelmed, and sort of hitting the eject button on life. And putting on the front to everybody out there. Like, I was very good at serving other people, meeting other people's needs. I think I've mentioned to you all that I am a huge Enneagram fan, and the Enneagram has really helped me understand myself a little bit better and see what my pitfalls are and where I get stuck, and help me to be really honest about myself. I feel like when I discovered the Enneagram, and really or it discovered me is really how I felt. I felt like my hand had been caught in the cookie jar. And yeah, and Mom came in and was like, "What are you doing?" Oh man. Anybody that's listening here and has heard about the Enneagram and is familiar with it at all can probably resonate with this. And I am an Enneagram 9. So my default, and that is known to most people in the Enneagram world, the most common name for that type is the peacemaker. And in the Enneagram world, there is a virtue, like this is where like the high, when you're operating in health and integrity, here's where you can aspire to, which for me is peace. But then every number or type on the Enneagram also has a sin, which is where we find ourselves getting stuck. And mine is sloth. That's not very nice. But I had to really, again, I told you I had that sort of come to Jesus talk with myself in the mirror and was like, girl, you can keep denying that you're having these problems and that you're not overwhelmed with life and that you're handling everything fine. And especially those of you that may put on a few extra pounds, that's hard to hide from people. Like, I can hide a lot of my other stuff. I could drink extra coffee to offset maybe the couple of glasses of wine I'd had the night before. But when the pounds start to really stack on and you're having to buy bigger clothes and, your problems become more, and maybe your sins. Not that it's a sin to be overweight, not saying that at all. I do not, I love myself. I love, that my brain and my body took care of me when I didn't know how to take care of me. A lot of this is just lack of knowledge. Like, we're all, let me just park this conversation right here, right now. We are all doing the best we can with what we have and what we know. But at some point, we do get faced with the pain of our consequences, and we have consequences, they cause us pain, and then most of us will have we have that sort of fork in the road. Do I want to keep doing this and keep my head in the sand and ignore this I'd rather not admit that I have a problem, and then you let your pride get in your way? Or do you really want to say, no, I want to deal with this. I see where that train is headed, and I'd like to get off, please. Next station, please get me off. And I think, especially with people that find themselves as over drinkers, but really when it's with anything and it's put sort of in this mental health category of these overdoing, these coping strategies, we don't want to admit that we've got problems. We're a very prideful group. Their hubris is our downfall, for sure, in many ways. But at some point, there's just a crawling out of your skin feeling, which is one of the reasons why you're overdoing things, by the way. I don't know if you know that or not, but that, that's the thing that distracts you from being honest with yourself. It also helps you isolate. This is where the enemy, and again, I think most people know that I'm a Christian, so I'm just going to be very real and honest that I believe there is a real enemy out there. And he comes in the form of a lot of things, and he knows our weaknesses. He knows. And that's where the Enneagram has, again, been a very helpful tool for me. God tells me who I am and whose I am, and that's who I aspire to be. But there's an enemy knocking at my door all the time that says, oh, Felicia, especially, he knows my weak points, which is, oh, you don't want to have that conflict. Oh no, you don't want to deal with that overwhelming issue over there right now. Doesn't the couch look comfortable over there? Don't you just need a nap, or maybe zone out in a book or a show. Oh yeah, gosh, it's awfully hot out there. I know you really do want to go exercise, but yeah, it's just too hard. It's too hot, and yeah, there's all these things you got to do. The kids need you. Oh yeah, let's go to the grocery store, distracting yourself with all the non-essential things to avoid getting the real thing, which is actually a conversation I had with myself today. I almost didn't get this podcast done. I have committed to myself to do this every Wednesday. And it is approaching, it is 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night, and I almost had a conversation with myself today. Well, it's just not feeling quite right. I'm not sure what I'm gonna say, and I've got to fix dinner, and blah, blah, blah. And then when I realized and reminded myself too, girl, the topic today is integrity. What the heck? How can you not do? Oh my goodness. So I had to say to myself, self, you just got to get it done. This is part of what it means to be, honest and honorable and reliable, to be undivided, like to say what you mean and mean what you say, and then walk the talk. Don't just talk the talk. So that's, a lot of those quippy things out there, but they exist for a reason. A lot of us talk a good game, but are we walking the walk? And I have had several sort of deathbed conversations with myself, if you will. Really, what are people going to say about you? What are your kids going to say about you? What kind of life have you led? Are you going to regret not doing some of these things, not reaching your full potential? A lot of these things were swirling in my head, while every day I was just I was going through this almost like amnesia loop. Like every morning I'd wake up, today's going to be the day. I'm going to, exercise today. I'm going to take care of my health, take responsibility, have integrity, like all of these things. Like I wanted all of these things, but then I was doing totally different things. But they were such good things, and they made me feel good, and they made me look good. I'm doing air quotes for those of you out there that are listening. They were making me look good and feeding my ego, very service oriented, serving my church, serving my community, serving my kids. Meanwhile, abdicating total personal responsibility for my health and all of that, and almost blaming other people, all of this other stuff. Now, I would have never said that, and I didn't actually know that I would believed that, but looking back on it with very real eyes, and honest eyes, I could see that is definitely part of, you can get so busy saying yes to things, yes to good things, that you miss out on the great things. And I am reading a book right now and I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit, but they're Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Now, this book actually is written only by Henry Cloud, and it's called Integrity. I'm actually reading a book called Integrity. Of course, that title caught my attention. So I have not finished it completely, but I want to just introduce you to a few of the topics and his concepts of integrity that have really resonated with me and got me thinking even more deeply about this subject. And it is the courage to meet the demands of reality. And just real quickly, I am going to, let me say that again. He defines integrity as the courage to meet the demands of reality. Let that sink in for a minute. I thought that was a pretty good maybe guidepost or a litmus test for being a person of integrity. And I have to tell you, the more, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I am very much a work in progress. I'm still figuring it out. Today I had to check myself as I was being very honest about that. But overall, I've made a lot of really good progress. I had to be honest that I was, over drinking, and that was sort of the first stage, or that push goal, that first bite of the elephant that I had to kind of eat for myself, on my wellness journey and to becoming a full, mature adult human being, and take responsibility for that particular habit and that coping strategy in order to get to a place where it's just who I am, is somebody who doesn't even want to drink. I had to really do the work to uncover and discover and why I was doing that. And there was a lot there. I have had a very tumultuous life. We all have a story, but there are a lot of belief systems that I have, and the way that I grew up in a very dysfunctional home, moving a lot. I had a lot of self-doubt. I found it to be safe to just be on my own. I had learned that as a young kid, just do it yourself. Even though I was married, I was very much still operating in that, do it yourself. You really can't rely on anybody, Felicia, so you've just got to do it yourself. And I wasn't asking for help when I needed help. I was taking on too much. I was deferring responsibility again, I think I mentioned it a few minutes ago, that I was really, losing myself in people pleasing and serving others to the extent that I was then feeling overwhelmed, resentful, and really not operating from a place of integrity, because I knew I wanted to be healthy. I knew I wanted to be the person that could, be fit, take care of their body, show up well for her kids and her family and friends, her husband, her coworkers, have energy. I mean, I was watching other people seemingly do it, and maybe they were also putting on a front just like me, probably. I think we're all doing that to an extent. But now that I've actually, uncovered and dealt with some of these things, and I've learned healthy ways to deal with them now instead of numbing out with half a bottle to a bottle of wine, and Netflix, and taking naps almost every day just to recover, that I do have energy. I have my energy back. I am living a much more integrated life, and it brings a confidence that I cannot even tell you. And I know that I'm just scratching the surface. So, and that's why I'm so excited about this work. I'm excited to help anybody that I can that will, that my voice and the way I talk resonates with. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. I'm learning how to even be okay with that. Like, how about a recovering people pleaser? There is such a thing. You can recover. Anyway, I want to go back to talking about Dr. Cloud and his book called Integrity in this definition. And I'm going to quote here directly from just the first part of his book, the introduction. And he underlines, who a person is will ultimately determine if their brains, talents, competencies, energy, effort, deal-making abilities, and opportunities will succeed. So in our upside down culture, secular culture, without having God in the picture, we can get very caught up in a lot of these other things. Brains, for example, talents, competencies, energy. I just mentioned that. Like, I was even using that as a litmus test, watching lots of people seemingly have lots of energy and kind of being maybe envious, or looking at that as a measure of worthiness. And deal-making abilities, that's a big one. So a lot of these things are good in and of themselves, but really it's integrity and who a person is and their character, that no matter what brains they have and what talents they have and what competencies they have, they are going to use them to the best of their ability and for the good. You catch that? There's a hint of what's to come, for good, because that's also part of my program. Something that is for the good. And so he, in a nutshell, and like I said, I'm still reading the book, but in a nutshell, he has 6 principles or things that people of integrity have. They are establishing the truth. So they are doing that through being connected with people, being grace-filled, and vulnerable. Yes, vulnerable is a big key. I cannot stress that enough. That has been a huge part of my own personal journey. And that's where that honesty piece comes in. It's hard to be honest without being vulnerable. Like, you risk, right? That's why we all go around with masks on and being chameleons and acting one way and in, certain settings, and more ourselves maybe in other settings. And that, to not do that, to be honest, to have integrity in and of itself requires vulnerability and a little bit of courage. And actually, Brene Brown, to quote another author, says you cannot have courage without having vulnerability, because vulnerability in and of itself requires a little bit of risk taking, which you can't, courage requires some risk taking. So establishing truth, and then through connection, through vulnerability, and through also an element of grace for yourself and for others, oriented towards the truth. So they are in touch with reality, which was part of his core definition. And this is where, and that was part of the problem I was having personally. I was trying to sort of deny reality. Oh, I'm not really gaining that much weight, or let's buy some stretchy clothes so I'm not facing it, and not have even that many mirrors in the house, or we just won't. Or if somebody wanted to call me and ask me about being in shape or not, then I could be well, I don't have time, and then I would make myself busy with a lot of other things. But that wasn't really true. It wasn't really reality that I had to be doing all these things. The reality was or sometimes, I don't know if you've said this, but I've said this, where, maybe you're talking about somebody like, oh, I just can't lose weight. I've tried everything. And then, or, I've tried so many things. Whenever you try, maybe you've had, you have something in your life you want to accomplish, but you haven't yet. And then maybe somebody asks you, okay, well, tell me about that. What have you tried? And then you're like, well, actually, maybe I just get myself convinced that I'm trying just by downloading the MyFitnessPal app. Or maybe I can convince myself that I've tried everything because I signed up for the Weight Watchers program, but I didn't really fully do all the things that they say. Yes, these are all things that I've done. And signed up for the programs or read about them, or, I've exercised really hard for, 3 weeks in a row and then, overdid it. And then I didn't lose, 5 pounds. And so I just said it's not working. I wasn't consistent with it. Like, it's the long game. So I was not, I'm being honest now. I have integrity now, but I was not in a place, I was very much in a defensive, no, that's not it. There's something out there to blame, something. Or here's another one. And I still am, there might be maybe a little, I'm still holding on to, there might be a little bit of truth in this. It's my hormones. But yet there are many women my age walking around that are not overweight. So I don't know how true that is. So maybe there's part of me that's still resisting reality. Anyway, having a little fun there. Like I said, I'm owning it. I'm still fully a work in progress. Then he says, going on his third guidepost is getting results, that they finish well. So there's follow through there, and all the effort that they're putting in is producing and returning fruit. That's a Christianese term we like to use. We bear fruit. Embracing the negative. This is an interesting one, because and I think goes hand in hand with the dealing with reality. We need to be honest with what's not going right in life and really be willing to address it, nip it in the bud. As an Enneagram 9, this is a hard one for me, because everything in me from a default setting says avoid conflict at all costs. So embracing the negative, and when anybody starts to get upset or problems arise or there's conflicts, my instinct is to go in another room, tune it out, put my headphones on, tell people it's okay, you're not upset, it's fine, I'm the peacemaker. So this has been a real hard one for me, but taking a 30,000 foot view has really been helpful for me to always zoom out. Okay, Felicia, there's a term I heard, and I wish I could give credit and remember who I heard it from, but they said there was a difference between being a peacemaker, which is what God has designed me to be, a peacemaker, and then there's where I was, which was a peace faker. That one hit me like a knife through the heart. I was like, what? I was so busy, always worried about my present state of being, and my families and my kids, whether they were crying or something was upset. I realized I was not allowing people to have their own feelings about things and or express their opinions, because it was disturbing. But I thought, like I said, I was doing the best I could with what I knew at the time. I know better now. And now I realize if I'm willing to have that hard conversation now, right when it needs to happen, then we actually can relate with each other better. We can be honest. People are seen and heard by me and by each other. I'm not inserting myself where I don't belong. That was another thing I was very guilty of doing. I still have to resist that sometimes. I'm the peacemaker. God made me that way. I could take it up with him. But I now can zoom out and say, okay, what is going to give me the overall long-term peace? And that thought process actually has really helped me with this whole integrity piece. Being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to be honest, the whole 9 yards, to be willing to lean in, do the hard work now so that I actually save myself a lot more heartache and hard work down the road by dealing with some real chronic health problems, God forbid, or, relationships that I have let be too much on autopilot or haven't listened and heard people, like so many different ways that it could go wrong by avoiding conflict today. Okay, I know I'm being a little bit more long-winded today, but there's so much to talk about here, and I want to cover his 3 other sort of guideposts. Oriented towards increase was number 4. This means that you're always improving. This is a long game, meaning that this work of being a healthy human is just like eating 3 square meals a day. You got to do it on the daily forever until you die. If that's not what you want to sign up for, yeah, good luck with that. But maybe you're going to enjoy and live at least a fun life overdoing whatever you're out there overdoing and underdoing. Also being oriented towards transcendence. And what he means that there is when we get, actually, I think that I had the numbers wrong there. So the oriented towards increase was actually the 5th guidepost. And now we're on the final one. So we'll wrap it up here. Oriented towards transcendent. When you're small, you're bigger. And by this overall concept, I mean that he wants you thinking of the bigger purpose. That in order to really keep going, be engaged, to be bigger, and this is a very biblical principle as well. I mean, hello, everybody knows about Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. And he, or even being born as a baby in human skin, Jesus is the best example of that. When he came to serve others and serve the greater good of God, and delivering God's gospel to earth and showing us how to live a good life. So I can't say it any better than that. Like Jesus, go read the Bible and learn all about integrity from the source. Anyway, this is part of what has meant to me, and I appreciate you. I appreciate me for showing up and having some integrity today when part of my own default thinking patterns and behavior patterns were even trying to creep in and take me out today. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day. And next episode, we're going to tackle the T. So stay tuned for what that means. How about that for a cliffhanger? All right, peace out.